being recorded.
Well, hello, my name is Scott Schumacher, and I have the privilege of introducing today's webinar, All in the Family, Family Groups and Special Needs Programming. Today's webinar will feature a best practice at Valley Lutheran High School in Saginaw, Michigan. This webinar is prepared by our friends at Valley Lutheran and is being produced by Concordia University, Wisconsin's Office of Continuing and Distance Education. We thank our friends at Concordia for their leadership and support in this endeavor. Just a few notes here before we begin our webinar today. There will be only one webinar from Valley Lutheran, and we again congratulate Valley Lutheran for being selected as an exemplary school. Congratulations. Now, next Tuesday, February 3rd, we'll hear from our friends at St. Paul's Lutheran School in Orange, California. Live webinars are participatory events, and we appreciate your questions and comments. Feel free to express yourself by typing in the chat box in the lower right-hand corner of your screen. All the webinars presented this year are available on demand on the login page of the Lutheran School portal. You need not be a portal member to view them. If you like what was shared, we invite you to view a recorded webinar together with your faculty. This is a great opportunity for professional development. Another great resource of Lutheran schools is the LCMS School Ministry Facebook page. Our Facebook page provides another opportunity for our schools to connect informally. We invite you to share your encouraging stories on our School Ministry Facebook page. Now let's go ahead and begin our webinar today with a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we acknowledge you as our Savior and King and give you thanks for the opportunity to serve you in our various schools. We thank you for all Lutheran schools, especially as we celebrate National Lutheran Schools Week. But we especially give you thanks for Valley Lutheran High School. We thank you for blessing this school with a fantastic staff who work so hard to draw children and their families into a close relationship with our Savior, Jesus Christ. We ask that you would continue to shower your blessings upon Valley Lutheran and give the staff at Valley Lutheran all they need to teach the students entrusted to their care. And finally, Lord, we ask that you be with those who are presenting this webinar, as well as those who are participating in this webinar. May this next hour be a blessing to all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So welcome Eric Smith, Lisa Myers, and Dr. John Brandt from Valley Lutheran as they speak on family groups and special needs programming.
God, thank you very much. This is John Brandt. I'm the Executive Director here at Valley Lutheran. And it's really our privilege to be able to share some of the things that we're doing that I believe have made a big difference in our kids' lives individually and in our school's climate and environment corporately. The first part of this webinar is going to be led by Eric Smith. Eric is a physical education teacher, and he leads our family group ministry program. We have with us also a couple of our students, Dina and Matt, that you'll be hearing from along the way. So I'll turn this over to Eric. Eric?
Thanks for giving me the opportunity here to share something that's really kind of a passion of mine and close to my heart, and that's family group ministry. And I'm just going to jump right in and talk about the mission of this. And the mission of our family group ministry here at Valley is an intentional youth ministry that is woven into the education of Valley Lutheran High School to strengthen the faith of the students. And I really want to key in on three key words there. The first is intentional. And it's intentional, it's deliberate. It's something that we really put a lot of focus into. We've got 21 groups of family groups that are a teacher leader and then freshmen through sophomores, that as you come in as a freshman, you stay in that group through the senior year. And so it's freshmen, sophomores, juniors, seniors. And as you're in that group, it really provides for a great deal of mentoring and relational building. The next key aspect of it is youth ministry. One of the things that I think is very important to understand is that, you know, when you look at churches, they do a great deal of youth ministry and a good job with it, but one of the challenges of youth ministry, and I was a former DCE and working in youth ministry, the challenge that I had is actually bringing students in through the doors. It was always the biggest challenge, and if you would get about, 10, 15, maybe 20 youth, you'd be really happy, and to have the opportunity to have, right around 350 students coming in through our doors every day, that's a great deal of a large student body that we have an opportunity to minister to on a daily basis. And when you look at it from a youth ministry perspective, you really have an ability to really reach out to them in a way that's not really separate from the educational ministry that we have, but really in and woven through. And that's the next key area, is it's woven into the educational experience of Valley Lutheran students. It's not something that's separate from our education. It's not something that kind of butts head with our educational ministry, but it's something that's really woven into the whole day of the students. And it really is there to strengthen the faith and the experience that they have. When we look at family group ministry, we really have 5 building blocks. And the neat concept here that we have is this is a concept that we use at Valley, but it's also one that you can use at a church as well. And we actually, I'm on the chairman of the youth committee at our church in Faith in Bay City at our Lutheran church there. And we actually have the same format, the same kind of concept. And it was really a well-rounded concept to help you meet the needs of youth and really connect with them in 5 different ways. And those 5 ways are, first off, Christ-centered relationships, and then worship in the form of chapel, Bible study, prayer, discipleship, and then discipleship we split up into 3 areas, being servanthood, leadership, and sharing the gospel. And so that's kind of going to guide the talk that we have with family group ministry. We're going to go through and explain each one of those areas and how we intentionally try to connect with students in those areas. And the first one is Christ-centered relationships. Now, this is a picture of my dad, and he is somebody who always says life is all about relationships. So that always kind of sticks in the back of my brain. So when I think of family group ministry, it's a great place to start and talk about. Now, the types of relationships we have are, 1, personal relationships with Christ. This is the most important one, of course. We want to try to build up that relationship that students have and that we all have with Christ. Secondly, we want to build up the student relationships that we have. Now, that, of course, means student to student, those relationships between students themselves. Thirdly, we want to build up the mentoring between students, student mentoring. When we have, and the neat thing about this is we have older students that can mentor younger students, seniors mentoring freshmen. And I know that does happen a little bit in extracurricular activities and things, but if you think about the school day, there's not always a lot of opportunities for seniors to really work with, get to know, and really build relationships with younger students. So this provides a really good opportunity for mentoring for older students to mentor younger students. And then adult mentoring, of course, the staff mentoring the students. And like I said, we have 1 staff member for each of the groups, the family groups, and you got about 15 to 20 students in that group. So on a daily basis, we have at least every student in our school being mentored by 1 adult, which is a neat opportunity to have. And I'm going to turn it over to Matt Cordy here, and he's going to talk a little bit about this subject of relationships.
Hi, I'm a senior here at Valley, and with my experience from family groups, I've had a really good experience with relationships. Our relationship with Christ, that is really expounded because usually when we get together, we have a small Bible study together, and that always just really helps because those are really good to have together and have someone leading, and sometimes we even ourselves. Student relationships, a lot of times you get to be with people that you may not be with on every day. You may not be with them every day, and you get to really get to know them better and on a more personal level. Also coming along with that is student mentoring. I remember as I came in as a freshman, I really didn't know that many people, and it's really cool to have like juniors and seniors that you normally wouldn't talk to just come up and just befriend you. And then, of course, me being a senior now, I try to do the same to other students. And as far as adult mentoring goes, my family group leader, it's a really good experience to get to know a teacher on a personal level as well, because they're always there for you and you know you can go to them anytime.
Like we said, it's a very intentional way that we try to build in that relational development within our school. And like I said, it's not something that we're trying to compete with in the classroom, because we know that does happen in the classroom as well, but it's something that we're really trying to be intentional with mentoring and relational development. And I think it really does work well. Now, I was online the other day and happened to come across this pastor. His name's Jared Wilson. I don't think he's a Lutheran pastor, but he had a blog. And on his blog, and I actually went too far there. Let me get back to that. On his blog, he talked about 4 ways to have Christ-centered relationships. And the 4 ways that he talked about were praying together, serving together, reading the Bible together, and worshiping together. I thought, wow, that fits right into what we're talking about. So really those are the next 4 areas that we're going to talk through. And we're going to start talking about the worship idea here. And worship, we don't really have specific worship services, but we do have worship in the form of chapel. Now, however, if you are using this concept in a church, you would just, of course, use the idea of worship and connecting with students in that way. But as in the school setting, our worship comes in the form of chapel, and we are blessed to have chapel on a daily basis. And for chapel, we sit together as a family group every day. So every single day I sit with my family group in chapel. And that's important because I would not probably see a lot of my family group throughout the week if I did not see them in chapel. So every single day, my family group gets together, we sit together in the same spot, and we listen to chapel. And chapel is led by faculty, local pastors, and student groups. So that's a great opportunity to just help build that relationships while we're hearing the gospel message spoken by whoever's leading chapel. And another neat thing that happens in chapel is we have students that also come along and lead chapel too, so it gives them an opportunity to lead and grow in their faith as they do that. So that worship experience in our school is a unique one because not every school has the opportunity to have chapel on a daily basis, but we do, and I think that provides a great opportunity for our family groups to meet together on a daily basis. The next building block I want to talk about is Bible study. And one thing that we're really trying to do with Bible study is be intentional with getting kids to bring their Bible to family groups and actually open them up. Now, we have Bible study about 2 times a month. We have that during the chapel time. So we have it twice a month, and we're trying to set it up so we have one smaller, shorter time, which is about 14 minutes, and then a longer time, which gets about 12 more minutes, about 26 minutes long. So we're having a short one and a longer one. Now, in that Bible study time that we have, the groups are provided with a devotion or a Bible for the family group time. And like I said, what we're trying to do, and this is something we're working on actually right now, is really make Scripture the main resource for that Bible study, trying to get students to bring those Bibles to the actual study and open those Bibles up. That's what our goal is. Now, we're in the process of this. I've got an actual format that we're going to start using, and we're trial running this with some of our students right now. I've actually used it today with our freshmen, and we're kind of trial running this. We're going to bring it out on Thursday in a family group time, and it's actually it's called a 4 study, 4 words that start with R-E study. So we're going to read the Bible, reflect upon it, respond to it, and reach out with it. What we're trying to do with this, and I'm not going to speak a lot on this subject, but what we're trying to do is give teachers an easy format that they can come and present to the students and really have the students open up their Bibles, reflect upon what the passage is, and then do some responding and talking about it, and then from that, seeing what we can take out from that message and reach out to the world with. But like I said, the biggest thing about Bible study that we're trying to do is being very intentional about opening up Scripture and having that as our main resource. Prayer. Prayer is the next building block that we have, and by intentionally implementing prayer, what we're doing is trying to take every opportunity to pray. And that might just be simple opportunities like praying during family group time. Might be things like some family groups going to pray after chapel. This is actually one that started happening, and we didn't really guide and direct that, but students and the teachers just decided, hey, we're going to take this opportunity to pray after chapel. And so all of a sudden this family group went down and started praying after chapel. And that was a neat offshoot of what's going on with prayer when we try to make that intentional in those groups. Taking part at See You at the Pole, if you know what that is, in spring we have the opportunity to join with others in the nation, that actually worldwide, in the event See You at the Pole. We've tried to encourage family groups to actually do that. We pray before and after service projects, and I try to encourage that. We have actually given some format for doing that too, giving some resources to do that. So we'll try to be intentional about encouraging the groups to do that before and after service days, to go out and pray. And we'll talk about service days a little bit later in this presentation. And then praying for students going on mission trips. We had a group of about 30 students last week that went to the March for Life. And we had family groups last week, so one of the things we did is really try to lift them up in prayer. We lifted them up to prayer through the actual worship services, but then during our family group time, we also lifted them up during the family group time, each one individually. So anytime you can find some opportunities to pray, try to seize that opportunity and get students to pray. And I'm one that really tries to encourage students, all of our students, to pray in family groups. That means praying individually, leading prayer, encouraging them to pray in partner groups. Maybe we have all the freshmen pray together today, or all the sophomores pray together in groups like that, smaller group prayer. So anytime you can get them to pray, I think that's really important, because teaching them how to pray is, I think, an important aspect of faith development. Here's a picture of our family groups. We did the Operation Christmas Child, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later on in the presentation too, but after we got done, one of the neat things about Operation Christmas Child that we did this year, if you know what that is, it's an opportunity to pack boxes for students or youth around the world. And one of the neatest things and neatest pictures in my brain that I remember is at the end, we had everybody pile up their boxes, and every group sat around their box and prayed for each individual box and the students that would receive that box. So another way to connect through prayer and also, in this case, service. Discipleship is the last building block, but we break it down into three different areas. And discipleship, the three areas that we kind of work on is servanthood, leadership, and sharing the gospel message. Now, the first one, servanthood, what we do is, following the example of Christ, we strive to provide students with the opportunity to see and serve the needs of others. Now, we do this intentionally by, in the fall and in the spring, we have a service day. And then during the winter, these last couple of years, we've had the opportunity to do Operation Christmas Child boxes and send those. And then also something that's coming up that we have not done yet, but we are going to do within the next month, is Aaron's Gifts from Home. And this is an opportunity to pack boxes from home for servicemen that are around the world. And I am going to have our students talk about these again. I'm going to have Matt, why don't you step up here and talk about some of your experiences in Service Day.
So every fall and spring, once a year, we go out into the community, and we just go. Each family group goes to a different place, and we really just go there and serve for maybe 3 or 4 hours. Places I've been, we've been to several nursing homes, went to grade schools and helped the kids, gone to different community parks to help them out, went to the YMCA and helped them, and even to like different volunteer services and just help them because they may not get as much help. We just go out there and do whatever they want us to do, and really just try to witness to them while we're out there as well.
And Adina Hernandez, is a junior at our school, is going to talk a little bit about the Operation Christmas Child and what that experience was like.
During the Operation Christmas Child, every family group, we will sign up for however many boxes that we would like to do. And then people go out and we buy, water bottles, toothpaste, deodorant, different small things that we take advantage for every day. And we pack them into these boxes. Most family groups will take a picture. We will add a note just kind of saying we're praying for you. And then we all got to pack the boxes together as a school this year in the gymnasium, and then we all prayed over the boxes. And we don't know where they go, but we do know that they're going to someone in need, and it's a really cool experience being able to eventually, a couple months later, see where those boxes end up.
So you can see that's a great opportunity to help our students actually see and meet the needs of not just people in our own community, but also the needs around the world. Leadership, another area of discipleship that we really try to strive to focus on is leadership. And our definition of Christian leaders is confident individuals of character who are connected to God and influence those around them. Now, another opportunity to seize is just simple opportunities for leaderships in groups. And when we're thinking about leaders, we're just trying to get students to actually take initiative and really reach out and do some things that they may not be used to doing. Now, some of those small things, like just bringing food. Sometimes we have food for family groups. Leading prayer in your family groups. On service days, that has a lot of opportunities for leadership. Service day does. And we actually, in our service days, try to get our students to take a little bit more of a hands-on approach to actually plan those and call organizations to set those up. So there's some good opportunities for leadership there. One of the things that we did do in this last year, though, is we set up a student leadership team for family groups. So we have about 1, if not 2, maybe in some groups 3 leaders from each group that are student leaders, and the student leaders, what we're trying to do is have the students take more of an active role in leading, especially on Bible study days. So we've got this group, and it meets every Wednesday. We meet and kind of talk a little bit about what's coming up for family groups. And then also we had at the beginning of this year a leadership retreat that we went on. And I'd like Adina to come back up here and talk a little bit about her role as a leader.
As a leader, we like to do different things and help out the teacher who is in charge of our family groups. Not only are we trying to grow closer to each other in our family groups, we want to get closer to the other family groups and people in our school. Earlier this year, actually the summer before school started, we went on this leadership retreat, and we actually got to know some of the other leaders in the groups and get a feedback for everybody's ideas. And it was actually a lot of fun just kind of seeing where everybody, excuse me, they were thinking and having a vision of where we wanted to see Valley go for ourselves, and actually put some of those ideas into action for where we want the spiritual growth for the students to go the next couple years, and also the emotional connection with the other students.
Thanks, Adina. And so we've got a really good group of leaders. And for me, as a former youth person, a person that was DCE and working in youth ministry, you know, for me at that leadership retreat, it was almost it was one of the greatest opportunities that I've had as a person that's passionate about youth ministry, where I had about 45 students together talking about the leadership of this group that really meets all of our schools. So when you think about that ministry, that's a big impact. Now, the other area of discipleship is sharing the gospel, and that's teaching students to defend and share the true message of the Bible. Now, how do we do that? Well, we do it first off. You know, we have a great opportunity in our school to have this already happening in the classroom. We've got phenomenal teachers in religion class that already do a great job of helping them defend and share their faith and teaching the gospel message through the classroom. In family groups, we do this, try to build upon this by studying Scripture through devotions and Bible study. And we're really, like I said, trying to be intentional about making the Bible really our main basic format for what we're doing with Bible study. We're using it as our biggest resource. And we also try to provide opportunities to share the gospel during service days. I think that's hugely important when we go out as a school-wide body and have the opportunity to meet with individuals throughout the community. And through what we do through service and our actions, we're actually helping to share that gospel message as well. And then we also help them to witness and converse about stories of faith. Now, that's done a lot through the chapel time and other guest speakers we have come in. We have a great opportunity to have super leaders, that there are pastors that come in and share stories that they have, or whether it be people from the community that can come in and talk about stories of faith. And we've got a strong Christian community here in Saginaw County area. So we've got good resources for that. But some of the things that we've also done, and a couple years ago we had, this is actually something where we connected the summer read books. Now, Lisa's going to talk about, Dr. Myers is going to talk about our summer read projects that we do. And a couple years ago, we looked at a book from Immaculée Ilabagazi. And she is a former person who was living in Rwanda. And she has a tremendous story of how she survived the genocide in Rwanda. And a strong Christian woman came out of that and wrote a book. And we read that as a summer read. We were able to bring her in to the school and have her speak to our school and also the community. And after that, we were able to do some things with these small groups to actually talk about that a little bit. So there's one opportunity where we can see stories of faith, and through that, kind of strengthen our students to be able to share that gospel message themselves. Another opportunity we're going to be looking at is within the month of March, we're going to show the movie God's Not Dead. Now, some of you may have seen that. Great movie about defending your faith. A great movie about how when you get into the college level, you're going to be challenged with your faith. We're going to show that movie and then go through and do some activities and some Bible studies along that. in our family group time. So that's another way that we're trying to help our students to defend and share their faith. Now, we've got some great benefits that we've seen from family group ministry, and so I'm going to share a couple of those. One of the biggest things that I've heard from teachers and students is that the ministry that we have with family groups, being intentional with them, has really helped to have a cohesive family atmosphere. And we've got better relationships between teachers and students. We've got better relationships between students across grade levels. We've got students feeling empowered to leading spiritually. We've got growth of student-led prayer. And we've got growth of students taking formal and informal roles in the family group. So there's probably some more benefits that we have as well. But one of the things that I think is really a benefit and blessing of family group ministry is we have a school that really has a great staff that has bought into this idea as well. So when I say that we have 21 leaders of family groups, there's 21 teachers that are doing great ministry and mentoring in their classroom, and they've stepped up and also are doing that in a more of a youth ministry style. And then we've got student leaders that have taken a step forward and really helped to also build this up. And you know, when I look back at our family group ministry, really it's really taking everything that we've had and kind of putting it into place, being intentional about it, and through that, God has blessed us, and we've got some great benefits from that. All right, does anybody have any questions? That's kind of where we're going to end with family group ministries. I see some comments on here. And my encouragement for you is take this idea, take the building blocks that we have, and use those not only in your school, I know some schools are, and also, you know, it's a format that you can use in your church as well. Like I said, I use it in our church, and it gives us really kind of a good, solid format to think about how we're going to develop and run with that youth ministry. All right. If there are no questions, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Brandt. He's going to transition us to the next part of our presentation.
Eric, thank you very much. You know, just from the administrative point of view, I hope that you got a little bit of a sense that this is not only a very good program, but this is a program that has continued to grow. The addition of student leaders this year was a great step forward, and there are some other steps that Eric described to show you that we continue to grow this problem, and I'm very thankful for his leadership. One of the interesting side notes is that you know, I think this is a testimonial to the quality of the program. I had a person from a public school contact me, said they were having some bullying problems in their school. One of our students was a member of their church. They had gotten to talking about relationships at Valley Lutheran, and she wanted to know about this family group program. And while there are parts of this that could be replicated in a public school, the bottom line is that they can't get down to the real guts of why we are what we are, and that's because of common faith in Jesus Christ, and that's too bad. But that was very, very flattering that our student would point that out to this person, and they would take the initiative to give me a call. Well, I'd like to introduce you now to Dr. Lisa Myers. Dr. Myers has taken this special needs program from zero, where it did not exist, and has built it into a very significant part of our school, and we're very blessed to have her working with us. Dr. Myers?
Well, thank you. It's a good thing to be able to share the special needs program with other people, because it has been probably as much a blessing to us as I hope we have been a blessing to our students. So I'll go through some of the nuts and bolts, how we got started, some ideas, and if you're looking to start something like this, maybe this will give you a few tips and maybe save you a couple stumbling blocks that we hit. Our special needs program is really designed to assist those students that struggle because of specific learning challenges that have a negative impact on their ability in the academic area. They are not able to find success. That may be learning disabilities, physical disabilities, emotional disabilities. We have an increasing number of students on the autism spectrum that have an Asperger's diagnosis. Sometimes some of our international students who are maybe it's their first year in the States, that they're struggling because of the language barrier. We're able to absorb them into the program. Or students that are having major difficulties with attention deficit disorder, oppositional defiant disorder, or some of the other things. But many of them have an official diagnosis or something that they've been struggling with, and when you look at their elementary school files, you can see that this has been a problem all the way through. And high school seems to be a big jump for these students that have already been struggling. One thing I need to make sure people understand is that we do not have a special education program. It's not special ed because we do not have anybody here that is trained and certified in special education. So what we do have here is a lot of well-meaning people that love students and are willing to do, whatever it takes to help them to be successful. But because we don't have anybody certified, we utilize the local public school program for anything that would fall in special education. The students in our special needs program follow the typical academic program that students take here. We provide additional layers of support, put a safety net underneath to help them get through that program. They are not pulled out of classes for special education. They attend regular classes, but we utilize their study hall time and the before and after school time to provide extra support and tutoring and other things that they need. We have had to be honest a couple times with some students where the challenges were so severe that we felt we would not be able to move them forward academically at all. And so in those cases, we thought we just weren't ready to handle that. And so not perfect for everybody, but we have been certainly able to expand the number of students where we are helpful. The history, we are a college prep high school. Most of our students go straight from here to college, a few into the military and a few into work, but our curriculum is really laid out for college prep. Prior to the beginning of special needs, we were losing students on a regular basis that just would kind of fall through the cracks. They had struggled with academics, and teachers were trying things independently, but there wasn't anything coordinated to really help it all hold together. And because we wanted to open our doors here even wider to have access to Jesus and a good academic program to as many students as possible, we felt it was important to figure out some way to coordinate things to give these students that struggled a better chance at academic success. So we started the program in 2002. It began with about 6 students and myself. I worked part-time as a resource teacher and met with them independently and kind of learned what it was like to be in their shoes. And it has grown since that point to approximately 10% of our student body. So we usually have about 32 to 35 students in the program in any year. There are 3 resource aides that work 20 to 30 hours a week each. I serve as their coordinator. We have a volunteer transitions counselor, and we have many volunteers. And that, along with a lot of hard work by teachers and parents, make this work. And I'll go into each of these things in a little more detail so it becomes more clear how all the parts fit together. The goals for our program are to help these students that struggle to successfully get through our college prep program through extra support and individualization. And we've learned that the individualization is the key. The fact that we get to know them on a very good level has allowed us to custom tailor things for them to make things work. And we've branched out in the last few years and gotten a little more creative even on how we find things that will make it work for each student. We're trying to assist these special needs students so that they reach on-time graduation with limited or no credit recovery classes. And for the most part, we've been successful there. A couple have had to take something now and then, but we're pleased that most of our students make it to on-time graduation without additional coursework. And we also, underlying, trying to assist these students in developing the independence and organizational skills that many, many seem to be lacking. And that is a big key to helping them as they move along their academic program. One of the key components was trying to figure out when we started is what would make a student eligible for this program. We use a couple of things. One, if they have an official diagnosis prior to coming to high school, if they have a learning disability, ADD, Asperger's, physical disability, etc. I'd say about the ADD, we don't take every student that has that because we have a large number of students that have that diagnosis. But when that is coupled with a long history of struggling in school, we have moved them into the program. If they have previously worked under an IEP, the Individual Educational Plan, or a 504 plan with the public school while they were in grade school, we continue that process here. If they have received significant one-on-one help in grade school, if I can tell by their file that they have had some pull-out time with some adults where it's really helped them get through math or English, or they've done a lot of tutoring, we see that as a sign that we may need to be there at least for the transition portion into high school. So that may only last about a year. But if they are used to significant help, we don't like to just let them fly solo without a little support. ELL student, an English language learner, an international student that's struggling, even after they've had kind of that time to transition, still struggling, the English is not quite there yet. Try to provide some help. And then, if there is room, we will take, it's usually ninth graders, but we have on occasion found an older student that has needed it. We will grab up a couple of those and add them to the program if we are able to, if we have room in the schedule for the 3 resource aides. So that's how we decide eligibility. It's been tough because the students actually love working with these 3 ladies, and they go back there all the time, even when they're not scheduled. So they like it. They share with their friends how much fun it is, and the students go home and tell their parents, who then call, and then everybody wants their student in. So we have to have some boundaries to kind of keep the program manageable, but that is nice to hear that it's a program everybody wants to join. The 4 main components of our program are listed on this slide. Probably the key is the first one. It's the one-on-one support. The 3 ladies that work as our resource aides are the key that makes this work. They work with students during their study hall before after school, and they are assigned to one resource aide in particular, even though the 3 ladies work very well together and will sometimes cross over and help somebody else. The student is assigned to one person who gets to know them very, very well. And then they stay with that student for 4 years. So we don't have to start up the process again after a school year has ended. They really just continue to get to know them, and they kind of grow with them. So that has been a neat component, that they build that relationship, and it makes for a very emotional graduation as these kids walk across that stage after 4 years of really struggling and working hard with this one person as their main support system. The second component is we do accommodations for the classroom, and we use accommodations that come from an IEP plan, 504 plan, but we also have our own documentation. We created an action plan, which I will talk about further, that gives a whole menu of accommodations that can be selected, and we do that with the parent and the student and the teachers and the resource aide kind of all together, choosing those specific actions that are going to be most helpful for a student in the classroom. Component 3 is definitely the communication piece. The increased communication between student, teacher, and home, mostly engineered by the resource aide assigned to that student, has been invaluable. They will call the parent. They will email. The parent emails them. They will talk to students daily, a couple times a day. If the student needs to talk to a teacher and is not sure how, they'll go with them and help them with that. So there really is this kind of nice triangle of communication between student, teacher, and home that keeps going and is fairly regular on a daily basis. They also do some weekly reports that I'll refer to later, which gives the parent and the student just a little more information than they might typically get from grades which occur on about a 4 to 5 week basis. The fourth component is transition, and that is starting with their freshman year. making sure that these students do not leave high school and kind of fall off into an abyss of no preparation. They're really more likely to have trouble transitioning to their next step. So we're working from the very beginning with what that next step might be. For many of them, it is college. We're very blessed to have a college in the community that is sensitive to special needs students, and it's a great start for our students to step from here to that community college. But they might be going in the military or looking for a job, and so we start that right away, having them look ahead and think, what might I want to do? What would I be good at? What would be a good fit? Where is the path that God has for me? So that when they graduate from here, the student and the parents aren't left totally on their own to what that might be. So those are the four main components. I mentioned the action plan. That's one of the key pieces. Classroom accommodations. This, we talk to parents and we talk to teachers and we say, this is our contract between the school and you. Some examples of accommodation we might do in the classroom, maybe preferential seating for somebody that has a hearing problem or maybe an attention problem. So sitting up front or to one side might be helpful, away from a noisy heater or something like that. Many of our students need extra time on tests or testing in a quiet location so they can really do their best without the time constraint. Some might need help with note-taking. Maybe they get an outline ahead of time, or maybe they have a note-taking partner that shares notes with them after class. We might ask the teacher to check in with the student at the end of class. A lot of times that's related to making sure that the student understood, oh yeah, that's my assignment, and go over it with the teacher so that they're clear before they leave the room. It may indicate some alternative resources. We regularly use audiobooks for students that are struggling readers. We may use reduced novels, which are books that the class is reading, but we get the reduced version, which has a simplified sentence structure and reduced vocabulary, and the student will use that reduced along with the regular classroom novel to kind of get through and to understand. But they do use both. We have all kinds of resources, and maybe that's in the action plan. Modified assignments, maybe the student, this happens rarely, but maybe the student only does half the math problems, or maybe they, if they have to write a 5-paragraph essay, maybe this student is only going to write 3, because to do either of those things takes 3 times as long as a student doing the regular assignment. We may even modify some expectations. Again, that is rare, where maybe if they're doing a big project and they have to do 15 parts, maybe our students do 10. If we do use modified expectations or assignments, if our students are not doing the same work as the rest of the class, we do note this on transcripts because that seems fair for somebody looking at the transcript to see that this grade is based on a different set of expectations than the rest of the class. Because of that, because we put it on the transcript, we tend to use this as infrequently as possible. So that is kind of a last option if we need to help somebody get through. I thought I would go through the process. This is kind of how our year rolls. We actually start before the student gets to high school. Often I will receive a phone call from a parent, 6th, 7th, 8th grade. They're starting to look at schools, consider us as a possibility, and they'd like to talk about their son or daughter and the challenges that they face. Then I know we've got them on our radar, and we can, as they decide to come here, we can work them into the program. Often I'll get a call from their grade school principal who says, hey, John's coming your way, just wanted to let you know, here are some things that we've seen, here's something that works. That's always helpful. And then on our registration form, we have a place where a parent can identify if they have any kind of special learning need. Between those 3 things, we usually get everybody identified before the year starts so that the resource aides and I can get together and do some scheduling, kind of dividing up who's going to be working with who. And we do a meeting with the student and parent ahead of the school year. And this is even prior to the new student orientation. We have found that with our students with Asperger's and other other diagnosis where they have trouble with change or new places or new people, we have found that having them by themselves and doing a little bit of an orientation, a run through, a tour of where their classes are ahead of time has been helpful. Then when they come to the orientation with all the ninth graders, they seem a lot more comfortable because it's their second time through. Prior to the beginning of the year, we will schedule at what time they are going to meet with their person. Some of the students will meet once a week. Some of the students will meet 4 or 5 times a week. And then it's adjusted as we go based on how well it's working for that student. Some of our students will take 2 study halls. We have a 9-period day, and that allows our students to still take 6 core classes, a couple electives, 6 total, and then have 2 study halls and a lunch. The 2 study halls kind of relieves the pressure on them, especially for that first year, and it gives us a chance, an opportunity to work with them at 2 different times during the day. As the year starts, each of our special needs students has a permanent pass, a laminated pass that they stick in their book bag, and they check out of study hall along with everybody else that checks out of study hall to meet with their resource aide on their schedule. The nice thing about this is after the study hall teacher takes attendance, a number of students go up to check out. They're checking out all over the place. Our student is checking out to special needs. Nobody really knows that they're doing anything different. This is always a concern for our students when they start, if someone will know that they're doing something different. Within the first week, they realize that nobody really is paying attention to where they're going, and once they find out that they go back there, that's been accepted really well, and usually their friends want to go with them. So the student has this pass, and they're going to check out our regular schedule, and that really begins the relationship that makes this work, that relationship between the student and their particular aide. Early in the year, their action plan is completed by the resource aide, along with help by the parent and the teachers, and it is then followed by that student's classroom teachers. The resource teacher maintains regular communication with parents. This happens all the time spontaneously. If a parent has a question or a concern, they will contact us. The resource aide, if they see anything here, they will send information home to the parent. But weekly, we have a report filled out by teachers where the teacher puts some notes down for each of the special needs students in their classes, and they will comment on if the student is missing any work, if they have any upcoming tests or projects. Sometimes they'll give a grade update, or they'll have a general comment just on how things are going. But the teachers do that weekly, and the resource aides compile that together and then give a copy of the report to the student and go over it with them. They also send a copy home so that if we do this on Fridays, so that if a parent is going to be working with a student over the weekend, they can catch up on missing work or prepare for a test or just talk about what the teacher is seeing in the classes. The resource aide has been the key to this, and we are just blessed to have 3 wonderful ladies who love these kids as if they were their own. They do a lot of the on-the-ground frontline work. They're meeting with the student regularly. They're helping them with staying organized. They work with planners. They try to help break up long tasks into shorter pieces. How do you plan to get everything done when you've got a busy schedule? And they also help with the executive skills. Those are the skills that people need to execute a task. So for a student to understand what the task is, to break it into parts, to know what step to go from first step to second step to the finalizing the project, and having the motivation and the perseverance to get through that and knowing what to do when you get stuck. I would say that's probably the biggest thing that our aides are doing with the students, because that seems to be one of the biggest needs for most of them. They are also tutoring in any needed subject area. They're giving extra help in math. They're helping with writing papers. They're helping with reading, science questions, whatever they have. The students will bring back homework assignments that they're struggling with or are weighing heavy on their plate. The resource aide is really coaching the student. They're assisting them in self-advocacy skills. They will encourage them, hey, you need to go talk to your science teacher about this, and they will kind of encourage them and get them ready and send them on their way so that they learn they build the confidence to be able to do that. They monitor the accommodations and make sure that the student is receiving the help that we have promised. They collect the weekly information from the teachers and do a lot of communication with the parents. And then they regularly work with the student in understanding how all this is fitting together into the big picture. They go over grades with them, credits, choosing classes, their transition. They just are really involved in the student's academic life and what often happens, their personal life as well. Our transitions counselor, she is a volunteer. She has been doing this for a number of years, and we are so lucky to have her. She meets with them 2 to 6 times per year, depending upon their grade. She starts a couple of times 9th grade, and by the time they're a senior, she's seeing them regularly. She does things like interest inventory with them to find out what are they interested in, what are their particular gifts, how does that translate into a career. She talks about possible options for them after high school. She's ACT preparation. She'll take 1 or 2 of them over to a college so that they can see themselves fitting in at a college, and she connects them with the special needs program at that college so they know how to access help at the next level. They do resume writing, interview preparation, job searching, college applications, really anything that's needed so that when they leave here they don't feel lost about that next step. We have a number of volunteers that we utilize to fill in pieces. They will supplement one-on-one with students. If we have somebody that's particularly good at math or helping with reading or writing, we'll connect them with the student a couple of times when they aren't able to see their resource aid. They do a little extra tutoring. A lot of them are in around final exam time when we set up many of the special needs students to take their final exam in a smaller setting by themselves or with a small group. They may use a reader, somebody who will read the questions out loud, or they may have somebody who will ask them to verbalize their written answers before writing them on the final so they can kind of get their thoughts together. And it helps with the extended time so that the person proctoring the other exams don't have to worry about 1 or 2 students that are on their own extended time schedule. At the end of the year, we do a lot to assess the progress of both the program and of the students. We use their grades as progress for both students and program. We do test them using a standardized test called the HAMAT, which gives us a baseline of reading, math, writing, general knowledge, and gives that information in terms of grade level and percentile. It's nice for us because we can usually see some progress as the student moves from 9th to 12th grade year. And we use that information then to make decisions on the next year's level involvement. It is our goal to try to help students to graduate out of our program, to be ready to go on their own. And as we see them getting more solid in their grades, their scores are coming up, they're becoming more independent and taking more responsibility, we really try to turn that loose to them so that, if possible, they're on their own by graduation. Final communications with parents, getting input so we know what to do for the next year. And then we spend time looking for, is there anybody that we think we'll lose if we don't provide some extra support, and that is often from the 9th grade level. We do coordinate with the public school. They will come and do an IEP or a 504 plan at parent request, and in the past couple of years, this has really boiled down to becoming what's called a non-public service plan, where they provide mostly just consultant work. Because the parents choose not to take their student over to the public school for special education. So they do turn most services back over to us, and we continue with our resource aids and our action plans. But they will provide a consultant, and we've also used their services for our visually or hearing impaired students. Some physical disability students have used services, and then social work services. So we work well with our public school special ed department, and they have been nice partners in this work. I serve as the coordinator now. Many years ago, I was the one on the ground doing the front lines with the students, and now I try to provide support to all the people that are really doing the hard work. So I help with the admission to the program, try to be the bad guy if I have to say a student is not eligible. I do a lot of supervising of the number of people that are involved, the aides, the teachers, the volunteers, help with their scheduling. If we have to do something individualized, try to figure out how to meet somebody's needs. I usually do that in conjunction with the aide that works with them. I'm the accountability piece for teachers, that they do need to follow the action plan. They do need to return those weekly reports. And what I enjoy the most, I think, is the training. We do a lot of professional development with our teachers, and I have tried since the beginning of this program to always have a component that's related to special needs. The resource aides go out for quite a bit of training themselves. They go to conferences, they go to they go see speakers, they watch videos, we get books and read. We're constantly looking for more information about how to be more effective with our students. And then we also do some training with our volunteers. If concerns come up, I'm usually involved there, coordinate all the efforts with the public school, and then administer the budget end of the program and purchase resources. In terms of resources, I did have a nice picture here of where they worked. We have a semi-private area, about 4 spaces. One is an actual office space with a door. The other is made with freestanding cubicle walls that we can actually expand, grow, move, change as the need arises. And we have 3 spaces where 2 of the resource aides work in the 2 spaces. Then we have one that's a quieter area where a student could take a test or work by themselves. We also have a lot of alternative curriculum resources, as I mentioned, audiobooks. If our students are reading something, they're reading Romeo and Juliet, they might find it helpful to listen to it while they're reading. So we have audiobooks, reduced novels, supplemental materials, and parallel curriculum. An example would be we have a student taking biology. She also has a biology book that's written at a lower grade level that covers the same material, but she can use that along with her textbook. And then our resource aides each have a full set of textbooks for all the courses that their students are involved in, so that they have those materials as well. Funding is usually a question. I know this differs from school to school. Our special needs students do not pay extra for the program, and I know that's different. It was our philosophy that we wanted our students, whatever it was they needed, they would pay the same fee for. So we have students doing all kinds of different programs, working with technical education or doing dual enrollment, and we do not ask them for extra money. We don't receive any outside funding from Title I. We do get some Title II money for professional development. We get an occasional donation, which helps, but mostly this was a commitment by the school to cover this program within the general budget. And the challenges, I'll kind of wrap up with the challenges and the benefits. The challenges have been limiting admission to those who meet the qualifications, because this program could get too big. It took a while to develop a real understanding and sensitivity for special needs students within the teaching staff. Not that they didn't understand, but teachers are typically those that were successful in the classroom, and they were always concerned about being fair. They wanted to be fair, and it took a while to learn that sometimes being fair is giving each student what he needs rather than giving each student the same thing. So that took some time, but we have made some real progress in there, and many of the teachers have kind of branched off on their own and figured out ways in their classroom to help. We continue to struggle with students who lack motivation or organization. Those are the underlying issues that give them a lot of their challenges. And then trying to navigate through the public school system and paperwork to have them be effective partners. We have a couple things that we use for measuring our success. We look at grades, graduation. We have some reading scores, and we have their achievement test scores. So we use some actual data to see how we're doing. And I would say in my last, just to wrap it up, the 2 critical factors are we got the right kind of people to be these resource aides. They are not necessarily certified educators. One is, but the others have all done one-on-one work with students for years. The other thing that's key is that they're moms, and they definitely bring those skills into their work. They work well together, and they stay with the same student for 4 years. And then we do a lot of training. We keep bringing this back so that it's at the forefront of our work with teachers and with the resource aides. So we're continually coming back to various professional development related to special needs. And the benefit, as I mentioned at the beginning, we've probably learned more from them as they have from us, and I think we're better teachers because of them. Our students have learned empathy and how to appreciate the fact that people are different. And best of all, we've been able to share quality education in Jesus with a wider population. And we look back at Luke 18 as a motivation for what we do. So I know I'm pushing it close to the end. I don't see any questions on the screen, so I thank you for your attention to our special needs program, and I will turn things back over to, looks like Matt.
Yeah. Actually, Dr. Myers, thanks so much for your presentation. Fantastic job. And to Eric and Dr. Brandt, I know that you have a great school, and you are certainly blessed and have a lot to be thankful for, and certainly worthy of being an exemplary school. So congratulations on that again. We also need to thank Matt Stenson from Concordia, Wisconsin for helping produce this webinar. We certainly couldn't do these webinars without his help, so thanks a lot, Matt. We really appreciate that. And also don't forget that St. Paul Lutheran School in Orange, California will present our next webinar next Tuesday, February 3rd. All right, everybody, God's blessings to all of you as you continue to celebrate National Lutheran Schools Week and, of course, continue to serve our Savior as professional educators in our